What's going on, guys? This is Robert Rowland with the podcast. Today is Friday. I was fortunate enough to finish out the week a little bit early. We were all released a little bit early today, and the team all went home. So I decided when I got home I was going to go ahead and hop in the shower and do a podcast before I hit the gym. So here we go. I know it's been a couple days since I did my last podcast, and what I wanted to talk about today is much of the same that we've always been talking about to the narcissist and the people that are dealing with narcissists. Something that I went through this week. I finished up, well, not really finished up, but we concluded our hardcore therapy session. I did my final hardcore therapy session with my therapist on Thursday. And basically, I no longer really have to go to therapy for the narcissism. However, it's been my option to continue to go to therapy, basically as a checkup. So I selected and chose to go ahead and continue with therapy, just not as frequent as I was going. At first, we started out with 2 times a week, and then we backed it down to 1 time a week. And over the 7 months now, I'm deciding to maybe continue the 1 time a week or every other week, just to talk about virtual, just random things and how things are going. But what I really wanted to talk about was for the narcissists that are dealing with recovery and going through things, is while I was in my final therapy session, you guys probably heard me talk about logging. It's extremely important to log. And when I say log, and that's just generally writing down your activities, your feelings, your emotions, how you're feeling, be it good or bad. And what that does is it basically keeps you accountable for how you're feeling. And it also gives you a reference as to when you're going through the process. It gives you points of reference to, hey, I did something wrong here, maybe I should have not done this. Maybe I shouldn't have reacted to this situation this way. If I responded this way, maybe these things would have happened differently. So Thursday, while I was in my final session, my therapist broke out my logs, and we started reviewing my logs, and just quietly, I kind of just started going through those things, and it kind of brought me back. I didn't really go into too many tears, but it really put me in check again as to see that the recovery effort as a narcissist is definitely a huge roller coaster. But what I did notice that in the beginning, while I was reading a lot of my logs, where I was still, even though I was seeking help professionally, I was still slightly in denial about me being a complete narcissist. Yeah, I admitted it. Yes, I was seeking help. However, while I was logging and while I was doing these steps for recovery, I was still holding back and still slightly in denial about everything that was going on, and I wasn't really being 100% honest with myself in these logs. I wasn't being real with myself while I was writing these logs in the beginning, and even speaking with my therapist. But as time progressed and I continued within these logs, I saw the tone of myself and the tempo just kind of open up. Now, I don't know if it's because maybe I internally realized that I wasn't being honest with myself and open. Maybe I started feeling more comfortable with my therapist, this person that I'm opening up to, or whatever it was. I really don't know. I can't remember what clicked at that time, months and months and months ago. However, within the logs, I could definitely tell the change and the switch over. And myself and my therapist, we were talking back and forth about some of the things, and there were things highlighted in there that they wrote, and you know, for me, I was embarrassed initially when I was going through these things, that, you know, how could I be such a fool to put my loved ones and put myself through such hurt, through such pain, you know, just from an addiction of not being honest, not being forthcoming, you know, not being real with them and even myself, you know. And I was extremely distraught and ashamed by that initially on Thursday, but then after all of that was said and done, a sense of pride overcame me, and the sense of pride overcame me because towards the end of my logs, you know, I realized that, you know, the things that I was saying in the beginning, towards like the middle of this effort, probably 2.5, 3 months into the recovery, is when I finally accepted what things were within myself, you know, and I actually saw the results and started being real with myself, you know. And as a narcissist, and this is directed for the people that don't really that aren't narcissists, that are dealing with a narcissist. For us as narcissists, we have an identity problem with ourselves. And when I say identity problem, is when we're talking to you and we're telling you a lie, or we're saying something to you, even though you know that it's 100% false, to us in our mind, we're believing what we're saying to you. A true narcissist. Now, if the narcissist is genuinely lying to you and they're coming at you like it's a lie, I mean, that's different. However, a narcissist believes their own lies, and that is one of the largest problems, and one of the biggest attitude things, and one of the biggest personality disorders and addictions that narcissists have to overcome before they can really step into the realm of recovery. Let me rephrase it, not getting help, but of recovery. Is once you realize that you're lying, you know, as a narcissist, and what you're saying and how you're believing and what you're believing right now isn't true, that's when you can realize and finally grasp onto that rope and say, okay, you know, I'm gonna get this change, and I'm gonna take care of these changes. Now, for me personally, in these logs, you know, I realized that, you know, I saw this changeover of, you know, the realm in this virtual, not virtual, but this reality that I was living in, and that I wanted to be so real, and then the world that I really had in front of me, you know, and the world that I had in front of me was actually better than the world that I created, if that makes any sense. The person that I created, and this is for the narcissists out there, for you guys and women, if you really look in the mirror and you take off this mask and you strip yourself of everything that you told that wasn't true, that wasn't real, you know, that isn't 100% genuine, I would almost bet $100 that the person that is actually beneath all of these fake things that you're creating, and all of this makeup, and all of this false, I bet you the person that's really beneath all that is better than the person you're creating. And the people that you're trying to impress, and the person that you're trying to impress, would appreciate the person that you truly are more than the person that you're trying to perceive yourself as. And in my logs, I realized that, and I can't remember the exact date because I dated everything, but my therapist also noticed that within the date, basically the light bulb went off. And that's when therapy really started to hit home and started to grind, and things started to change for me internally with myself and my attitude, my actions, my emotions. Now, with that being said, there were times that, I fell back and I'm not going to say relapse, but, I lashed out, and had an attitude for no apparent reason, and said something that I shouldn't have. Not a lie, but lashed out at a loved one just out of anger because I was frustrated that no one really felt how I was feeling, because of the effort that I was putting in, and no one accepting, and understanding that the pain that I was going through now, and the struggle that I was going through, and me still being labeled as a liar or a narcissist, no one understood that pain, and it was really hard through the recovery process. And mind you guys, I'm still going through the recovery process, and I'll probably be going through it forever. It's really hard to be called something and labeled something, when you're trying to get better, at first, and then you not really know how to deal with those names that are being called, and people judging you. So finally, I figured out, when I'm being called a liar or a name, you know what, I deserved it. However, the people that are calling me these things, they're not part of my life now. So they really don't have a right to call me these things now. They're basing my character now off the character I was. And unfortunately, I allowed them to come up with that decision based on what I've done in the past. However, tomorrow and right now, present time, that's not what I am right now. Those aren't the things that I'm doing. That's what I may have done, but that's not what I'm doing currently, and that's not what I'm doing tomorrow. So throughout the recovery process, guys, you got to remember that logging is extremely important, because it gives you set points to go back, and look back, and it's been 7 months before I got to look back at all the logs that I've written. I looked at basically 5 months of logs, and I didn't look at every single one, but my therapist pointed out and pulled out certain ones, that were important, for me to look at. And it was pretty incredible and pretty mind-blowing for me to actually look at those things. So logging is super important, just so you have a reference point, to see how much you're changing, even if you're changing at all, and to maybe look at things and to give you a reference point to say, hey, I could have done things differently here. I'm going to go ahead and record another podcast because I'm running out of time now. I appreciate it, guys. I'll talk to you shortly. Have a great day.